Hi, everyone. If you don't know me, which I hope you all do, I'm Marissa. I work on the communications team at the NHDP, um, and I am here tonight to give you a rapid response communications training. So tonight we'll mainly focus on what a direct-to-camera video is and how you can use that in a rapid response manner. I think, rapid response covers like a broad spectrum of things, whether that's traditional communications, i.e. responding to a news story very quickly online via Twitter or Instagram, or using something like a direct-to-camera video to respond to a news story that has just popped. So kind of starting at the beginning, what is a direct-to-camera video? And that's really just when a speaker addresses the camera lens, and you have a one-on-one conversation with the camera. So just like you would a person, just now the camera is kind of that person. So where to start? This can be super overwhelming, especially if you haven't maybe used a lot of social media platforms to do this beforehand. But essentially all at this point, I would say, besides Twitter and Blue Sky, allow you to film and edit, create direct-to-camera videos. And that also includes by generating captions for you. So if you want to include captions, which I typically do for those folks who maybe can't hear as well and they prefer to read the captions, all of these apps really, they just have integrated them into their editing system where it automatically generates for you at the click of a button. So, like I mentioned, you can use TikTok if you have that for your town or county committee or personally. Same with Facebook Reels and Instagram Reels. And the Reels after, it can get a little bit confusing, but it really just means a Reel is basically a short or a direct-to-camera video. So it's no different than doing it on the Facebook app or Instagram app. There's just a little section that says Reels instead. So why and how do direct-to-camera videos work? It's pretty simple when you boil it down. We hear a lot about how folks these days really want leaders or politicians or um, folks that are maybe big in the corporate space to be, they want to seem like a person, and this is the easiest way for them to do that, right? Because it's just like they would be talking to a constituent, just they're doing it to the camera and they're reaching a larger audience. So, I would say like the biggest thing here is that it feels authentic and it's easy to follow. So in a sense, right now I'm doing a direct to camera video. I'm not reading a script. I have these slides that kind of prompt what I'm explaining to you all, but I'm not reading a script. And I think the feels authentic part is really important in these because a lot of folks get caught up in the fact that, the video needs to be perfect. They don't want to stumble over their words. They don't want to look bad, all these different things that you think about and then distract you from, what you're really talking about in the video. And so it's important that it remains authentic and it's okay to stumble. It's okay to mix your words up. It's okay to do a few retakes, but honestly, sometimes after 3 to 4 retakes, it's then not worth it because it sounds a little bit too rehearsed. So breaking it down step by step, um, the biggest thing I think is the hook, right? So you want to start with something that catches everyone's attention or as many people's attention as possible, not just Republicans in Concord are ruining our economy. We all know that. But you might be on TikTok reaching a different audience that doesn't know that or doesn't know the why of that. So thinking about what comes before that to really get people's attention. And sometimes it doesn't even have to be related at all. I was just making a TikTok for my personal account about do you know more about Taylor Frankie Paul from The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives or Kelly Ayotte, right? And so people hear Taylor Frankie Paul, especially, for people that I'm friends with or interact with online, she's really big. And that's who we talk about a lot and all the drama with Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. So they're automatically hooked. And then I also weaved in a political hit on Kelly Ayotte and, tested their knowledge on do they know more about this reality TV star who is a disaster for many reasons, or Kelly Ayotte, who is also a disaster for many reasons, but obviously a little bit different. The next step is being personable and personability. And, this goes back to the point of authenticity. So you should talk like you're speaking to multiple people and not an entire, sorry, you should talk like you're speaking to just one person and not an audience, right? Just like you're having a normal conversation with a friend. And that can feel super weird and it's hard to get used to when you're doing it to a camera. But I think with a few times of practicing, people tend to get used to it and start to realize that, again, if you have mistakes or slip ups, it's totally okay because you would have that in a normal conversation with a person. And another point there that I think is important, but again, takes practice, and still I'm not perfect at this, is the eye contact with the camera, right? You don't want to be reading a script, one, because that's not how you make a direct to camera video, but two, then it doesn't really feel as authentic. You're reading a script while also trying to talk to a person and have a conversation. It would be like think of it as you would be reading a script when you're having a conversation with a friend over lunch or over coffee. Create tension. And, sometimes this can be problematic and it can draw in the wrong audience for people. But I would say in those cases, either way, your video is getting interacted with, and so you're getting boosted. So let the bots or the people fight in your comments. But creating tension and giving people a reason to care or a problem is super important for these videos because it means that they'll either come back to your page, they're going to share your TikTok, they're going to start to understand why it matters that they care about whatever you're talking about. And so I oftentimes will tag #Trump on our videos, and we frequently get a lot of comments and hate comments per se, but my thought is, you know what? Great, boost my content and it will reach more people. And that's okay with me. They're basically giving you free engagement. And really the big last bucket here is the takeaway. So ending with the simple message of what you want them to remember for next time, or why they should pay attention to this, or why they should come back to your page. It's super important that you're ending with a short takeaway because you don't want to have hooked them, really gotten them to pay attention, and then ramble on at the end. This is another short, sweet thing. So I threw in a few examples of hooks here, and I think before I get too far into the examples, I will just say it's important to remember that a direct to camera video does not have to be long, and really it shouldn't be long, right? You have a lot of these like vlogger TikTokers or vlogger Instagram reel families. And their vlogs are a little bit on the long run, but they've built up that engagement and that's kind of their content style. But kind of identifying your content style takes time. And so starting out with a shorter video will be helpful, one, to you. Hopefully it's a little bit less overwhelming, but also to building that audience. So we'll jump right into some examples of hooks. I threw two right here. One about property tax bills, and you don't necessarily have to share this. It could be something like, I just paid this much at the gas pump, and then go into, this is why. Then create that tension about, Donald Trump has launched his war of choice, and this is why you need to pay attention to it, because if you want to continue paying $4.70 at the gas pump, then you should vote for Donald Trump. But that's besides the point. So feel free to use these two hooks. Feel free to bounce ideas off of me or others. I think it's super important that, we're not all just doing the same hooks. This is somewhere where you can differ a lot in messaging, and the overall idea of the messaging is cohesive, but it doesn't have to be the exact same. And that's really the draw of the new digital media these days, right? It's not like traditional media where you really have to hone in on your message discipline. What's next? So this is really like the big point of today's presentation for you all is that we would love, and this is something we'll be doing too, that you use the convention as an opportunity to showcase the work that your county or town committee is doing. You can do it any way you want, but I would recommend a direct-to-camera video, right? Like the convention is the first time that we'll have all of our candidates for every single office running. Make a direct-to-camera video about that, about your thoughts, or before what your thoughts are, or take a few shots of all of the candidates up on stage speaking, right? So this is really your time to showcase what your town and county committee is doing, what you're doing at the convention, and then kind of use that as a good starting point to maybe do this a little bit more regularly. I know a while back with some of you all, we did a quick direct-to-camera training where everyone got together with their tables at the state committee meeting and got to make one, or maybe it was a boot camp training. And I think a lot of people really enjoyed that because you got to bond with other people at your table that maybe you don't get to necessarily interact with as often. And so my other advice here would be to ask other town or county committees to collab, like involve someone. Maybe you're from Enfield and you want to have someone who's from Manchester, and you can both talk about public education and how the GOP school voucher scheme has really eroded public education in your towns, but maybe it's in two different ways. And I also think identifying a few different folks, chairs, you should definitely feel free, and I would strongly encourage you all to do it since you are the chair, but also identify maybe 2 to 3 other people within your town or county committee that would be willing to do this and willing to post this. And that's something you could upload to your social media pages or to your personal social media pages and share them widely. And my last ask of you all is that if you're making these, please send them along. We want to amplify your work. We want to make sure that people are seeing what our town and county committees are doing. And, as another way to encourage more people to get involved, if maybe they only follow like certain social media pages and we amplify you all, then they can see the work that you're doing. So please always feel free to send them along. I think most of you have my number, but I will have Maddie Kalaya throw it in the chat if you don't. And as I just mentioned, if you have questions, if you want to talk more about this, if you want to practice with someone, if you just need help kind of setting up that social media page to get these started, please feel free to reach out. My email is right here. I'm more than happy to get something going, even if it's before the convention. I can definitely fit that in. Thanks all for being here tonight and listening to hopefully this quick presentation that was interesting. And we'll see you all at the convention.